As it has been discussed in previous videos, the main method is the entry point for Java programs. If we look at the skeleton for the main method, everything should look pretty familiar to you at this point in the series. To quickly review, public is an access modifier which controls where the method can be accessed from. Static is used so that the method does not have to be invoked through an instantiated object. Void is the return type and main is the name of the method. In the creation of methods, we know that a parameter list, wrapped in parentheses, always follows the name of the method. That is not any different from the main method, and as we can see, the parameter for the main method is a string array named args. The parameter is named args because it is used to provide command line arguments to the method at runtime. Now before we go into details of command line arguments, let me quickly answer the question you may or may not be thinking. Will a program still run if the main method does not have a parameter list? And the answer to this is no. Simply put, in the designing of the Java programming language, it was decided that the Java virtual machine, which is the runtime engine that invokes the main method, is looking specifically for a method named main, with a parameter list that includes a single parameter, that parameter being an array of strings. If it cannot find the specific method, the program will fail to run. Now back to command line arguments. So far in this series, we have interacted with the programs we have created through the console in Eclipse. This is not the only way to interact with programs. Another way to interact with programs is through a command line or command prompt. I access this interface by pressing the start key on my keyboard and searching command. An app called Command Prompt appears and I select it to open the interface. Whether you're on a Windows, Mac, or Linux system, you should be able to open a command prompt in a very similar way. I'll go ahead and leave the command prompt open as we will be using it shortly. We'll go ahead and write a program that utilizes command line arguments, and then we will interact with the program through the command prompt. Alright, so in our main method, all we're going to do is write a print line statement that will prompt you entered args sub 0 as a command line argument. Notice we are concatenating the value contained in the 0 index of the string array args within this string. Now we can run this program in the command prompt to get a complete understanding of command line arguments. So, going back to the command prompt, the first thing we do is navigate to the folder in which the file commandlinearguments.java is stored, using the cd or change directory command. If you are unaware of where your commandlinearguments.java file is stored, you can find the file path by right-clicking on the file in Eclipse and selecting Properties. In my case, it is located in Eclipse Workspace / command line arguments / src. So this is where I will cd into. Once I have done that, I can run the program by typing Java, then the name of the Java file we are executing, which is commandlinearguments.java, followed by the command line argument we want to provide to the main method. In this case, I will use the string test. After that, we can press enter. As you can see, you entered test as a command line argument is printed. If we run the program from the command prompt again, this time supplying it a different command line argument of comp sci study, you entered comp sci study as a command line argument is printed. Now what if we do not include a command line argument? We get an array index out of bounds exception. That's because the print line statement within the main method used args sub 0, and by not including a command line argument, no value is ever stored within args sub 0, and therefore the program throws an exception. Now what if we provide more than one command line argument? This time we'll include both test and comp sci study. Notice the program runs successfully, but only test is included in the print line statement. What's happening here is test is being stored in args sub 0, and comp sci study is being stored in args sub 1. And since we wrote the program to print only args sub 0, that's exactly what is being executed. We could change our program to instead print args sub 1 and run the program again to see comp sci study, the value stored within args sub 1, is indeed contained within the print line statement. Or we could change the print line statement to include both args sub 0 and args sub 1 to see both values printed when we run the program. Now, sometimes you may want to run a program from the command prompt using command line arguments other than strings. For example, what if you wanted to create a program that accepts two integers as command line arguments and returns the sum of the two integers? Well, we are unable to change the main method parameter list to include an int array instead of a string array. We can definitely convert the command line arguments into another data type within the main method to make this possible. And in the next tutorial, we will cover an example that does exactly this.